Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our homeroom. I can't believe it, but we are pretty much reaching the end of the school year, and that is amazing in so many ways. It's so nice to let go of the schedule. I look forward to that every summer, just not having that same morning routine is helpful. However, it also means that we have a few more issues that come up over the summer, like managing our kids' technology. All of a sudden, now there's just time fills up the whole day, and it just seems like technology is all they want to do, right? We also have chores that need to be done a little bit more. The kids are around the house more, so it's getting messy a lot more. Siblings are around each other. Everybody's actually around each other a lot more, which means we can have a lot more conflicts over the summer too. So today, I'm going to give you some tips to clarify a few things that you can feel good about letting go of this summer, and then a few things you can feel good about adding more of this summer. So, also, this is going to be my last episode until August. I'm taking some time this summer to work on some new offerings and packages and programs for next school year, but I am still coaching. So, I've actually come up with a couple new packages besides just my regular one on one student and parent coaching. I also have a summer success package for families. So, if you feel like you'd love to have a summer that goes smoothly, but you're not really sure how to do that, or you feel like you've tried to talk to your kids about it and they're just not on board, sometimes it helps to have an outsider. I sit with your family, we go over goals everybody has for the summer. We try to incorporate the kids' goals with the parent goals so that everybody's happy and on board with what to do, and more importantly, even motivated to do some of those things the kids don't think that they want to do over the summer. So that can help a lot just so your summer runs smoothly. I'm also offering a package for students getting ready to go back into the school year. They can sometimes need some tips starting off that year, especially our upcoming sixth and ninth graders, so that they're ready for the new influx of the classes and clubs and activities, being able to manage all of that successfully. So all my links are below. Make sure to check those out. If you feel like your children could use some support going into the school year, or you could use some for your family this summer, please check out my links below. I do this in person in the Orlando, Florida area, but also online. So keep that in mind. But for today, let me go ahead and get into some summer routine tips so that you get into the right summer mindset and you're enjoying summer, and so are your kids. So summer is a great time to use as a way to kind of experiment with new things, try some new things as a family, let your children discover themselves and their likes and dislikes and things that work for them or don't, because you don't have that school routine that you have to stick to. So we're going to go over some things that you can start doing some less of over the summer, and then some things you might want to start implementing a little bit more over the summer. So first, we're going to start with some things that you can have less limits around over the summer. So the first thing, and this is coming from a teacher, I was a teacher in the classroom for about 18, 19 years. And even as a teacher, I will tell you it is fine over the summer. In fact, I strongly encourage having a lot less limits around actual academic learning. So instead, I would like the learning over the summer, let it be a little more self-directed for your children. So back off the learning a little bit. Let them, that's coming from some outside adult, let them step in and have a little bit more control over what they learn. That could mean them learning things that to you don't seem that important, but it is something to them that is. It does not have to be academic. It doesn't have to be science. We don't have to be doing even science experiments in the backyard. They could literally just be figuring out how to make up a dance routine on their own. I mean, it does not have to be something that is strongly academic. Our kids work really hard for those 9, 10 months out of the school year, and it's okay for over the summer to give them a little bit more freedom. So let them think about what are some non-academic topics that your children would like to learn? Maybe ask them. Maybe there's some random things they want to get a book on. They want to learn how to draw something, so they want to learn how to draw comics or write comic books, or It doesn't really have to mean anything. In fact, it could be something that they want to do on Minecraft building. Maybe they have a goal that they want to learn how to build a 3D model of a real life building or something. So it's okay that it is non-academic. We do not have to push that academic learning. Now, yes, there are some students who really do need to keep up some academic learning over the summer so they don't have that slip. And I totally agree with that. It is up to you as a family, as long as it feels like something you can get your child motivated and they're not completely resisting. And if they are, but it is absolutely some kind of tutoring that is really necessary over the summer, talk to them about why it's important. Explain to them that you don't want them going back into the school year having experienced that summer slip, right? That you want them to go into the school year feeling confident about that year. And then come up with some kind of plan. Maybe 2 hours a day is way too much to expect of them, but maybe 30 minutes or 45 minutes is doable depending on the age of your child. So again, giving them some of that choice in the learning that they have to do over the summer is going to help so much. And then when it comes to any kind of learning over the summer, try to have less pushing. So instead, what are your children being pulled towards learning instead? What feels like a pull and not a push? Reading is a really good example here. If you have a child who loves to read and they're pulled toward reading, let them read over the summer. Awesome. If you have a child that is super resistant to reading, they do not like it, pushing them to read is not going to make them inspired to be a reader. I even, as a teacher, when my son was in middle school, he was assigned summer reading. I disagree with assigning summer reading and summer projects and summer. So when they come back, they have tests on these books that they were supposed to read over summer. I think summer should be a time where our children are choosing. Our children are empowered to find the things they want to learn and explore and discover, not another adult pushing them to learn things that they may not want to learn. So if you want your child reading, go to the library with them, let them choose books, even if those books seem too easy or you're thinking they're not challenging them enough. Let them have the power and choice. Honestly, a lot of the times, once we give our children the choice over what to learn, they do eventually come around to start choosing more challenging material. But you want them to have that power and choice. It makes it easier for you because you have to do less pushing and much more fun and enjoyable for them. And again, pushing our children to learn to read or to learn never makes anyone really inspired to a lifelong love of learning. So keep that in mind. All right, the second area where I strongly suggest having some less limits around over the summer is our sleeping schedules. I think it's a great time over summer to let your children start figuring out sleep schedules that work for them. First of all, our teenagers are forced to get up going against their circadian rhythm throughout the whole school year. I mean, most of them are getting up at 6 in the morning. Some are even up at 5:30 or 5:45 in the morning. That is, their cycles are like 12 or 1 in the morning to like 9 or 10 in the morning. So they are going way against what is natural for them. So it is okay to let our teenagers sleep over the summer. Let them have that power and control over the sleep. If there is some reason they have to be up early morning, there's something that they have to do, obviously that makes sense. But if there's no reason, then just let them have their normal sleep schedule over the summer. It's also, like I said, it's a great time to figure it out. So for some of your children, you might say, okay, try going to bed at 12 and getting those 8 or 9 hours. How does that feel? Let them experiment with different sleep schedules that work and how many hours a night do they naturally sleep. They can maybe try to find out what their natural sleep schedules are. But fighting with your kids about sleep schedules, it gets a little bit challenging because there is no real reason they have to be up in the morning. So then it can become a power struggle between you and your child. It can be you saying they need to go to bed at this time just because. If you see a health reason for them getting to bed at a certain time, share that with them. Bring up the research, whatever it is that you can find to help them understand why it's important for a child their age to get to bed at this time. Again, our very young children do need to get into sleep at an earlier bedtime. But for our older kids, our teenagers especially, it's just going to end up being power struggles if you're constantly fighting with them about getting to bed early and waking up early. So giving them some more flexibility on them, that'll just kind of meet their need for freedom and having their own independence a little bit more. And it'll stop those power struggles for you. All right, another area where you can have a few less limits around this summer is technology. This one is a huge one. Your kids now have full days all to themselves, and they are going to want to fill that with technology. And, it kind of makes sense. If you really think about technology, it in and of itself is not a problem because technology gives our kids so many things, right? So tech can provide things like learning. A lot of our kids, surprisingly, are getting on YouTube and learning things. It can also provide our children with things like art. There's art apps on there. Social time. For many of them, that is the only social time that they get. They're not out at the malls like we were growing up. That is the only way they interact with their peers. It's also their music. We had radios and boom boxes that we carried around with us and our Walkmans and things like that. These kids, it's on their phone. It's also got news, and a lot of the kids are really interested in what's going on in the world. And then it's also, of course, fun. There's games and activities and things that our kids can do on there for fun. So it meets a lot of needs for our kids. So over the summer, they are going to probably be on technology more than they were over the school year. If we can let go of that feeling and need to try to control and micromanage that tech time to a super, super strict degree, again, it'll lessen those power struggles between you and your child. And it'll just make things easier. And then they'll see that you're respecting their need for fun and play and social time. And then they're going to be more easily able to show respect and be cooperative in the family when their needs are met in that way. Now, we also want to keep a lookout for signs of addiction. There are signs of addiction for technology. You can look those up online. And what I suggest is reading those over with your children. What do signs of tech addiction look like? Talk about that with your child and how you don't want to slip into that. You could even look up what the recommendations are. I think the American Pediatric Association has some limit suggestions for technology. Read that over with them, talk it over with them. And if 2 hours seems really strict, that's really hard on a day where they're awake around, 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day. Like it's really hard to get them to only limit to 2 hours, and how do you time that? But maybe you can come up with, okay, we can have some tech time in the morning, then you take a break, then you can do some tech time in the afternoon or something like that. Or afternoon, we're going to leave as, quiet time, reading time, getting outside time, and then the morning can be tech, or vice versa because it's hot out. So in the morning, why don't you go enjoy being outside doing something else, where in the afternoon you can do tech. So just talk to them, make it a conversation that they're included in figuring out these limits over the summer, and you're going to get so much cooperation. And remember, when it comes to technology, balance is key. So just keeping the idea of balance. Does it feel healthy when they're using technology, or does it feel unhealthy? Kind of trust your judgment on there instead of overthinking the rules that you've read or what other parents are doing or what so-and-so said or so-and-so said, and really feel like into your family. Does this feel like this is becoming an unhealthy habit, or is this feeling like it's healthy? They might be spending 4 hours on technology, but they're also spending 4 hours doing things outside, and they're going to camps, and they're playing with friends, and they're doing all these other things, then maybe that's okay. So really trust your feeling of balance when it comes to technology over the summer. All right, so for those 3 things, you're going to want to do a little bit less of this summer. So less learning, especially less academic learning, and less pushing towards the learning. Let them be the leaders in the learning. Do a little less management of the sleep schedule. Let them have a little power and control over that. Let them try out different routines, and that, again, alleviates all those power struggles. And then have some less limits around technology. And when you do come up with limits, work together. All of these things, when we can kind of lessen our limits around those over the summer, it really helps our children see that we see them, we see what they need and what they want over the summer, and we're giving that to them. And again, they just become so cooperative all the way around. So it helps all of us. All right, now let's get into some things that you want to have some more of over the summer. The first one is chore help. So, summer is inevitably a time where the house gets messy. Kids want to, create things. They want to make things, or cutting and pasting and coloring books are out. And then we've got Legos all over the floor and, couch cushion pillow forts. And oh my gosh, it becomes a mess. So it is really, really important that you explain this to the children that, listen, we want you to play and have fun as much as you want this summer, but we also have a home to maintain. This house has to be maintained for everyone's health and safety. So we've got to come up with some ways to work together to keep this house clean and orderly so that we're all able to have fun, but also staying safe. So one way to go about this is to pull out a list of all of the different chores that children can do by age. And I've actually provided this in my worksheet below. So if you click on the worksheet, page 2 is an adapted list of all of these different chores that children can do and what age it is appropriate for them to begin doing that. So I think it would be fun to pull out that list, let the kids look through the list. First of all, they'll notice there's probably a lot of those things they're not doing. I know when I looked it over, there are some things that children should be doing at age 6 that my son is still not doing. So it's fun to go over that list with them. Let them choose one that they would like to try to do this summer. They may not be perfect at doing it, and that's okay, but maybe one that they'd like to try to start doing. Maybe you can strongly suggest some different ones that hey, we really need more help with vacuuming. I cannot do it all. I'm working, and you guys are at the right age that you can do that. So let's work on learning how to use the vacuum cleaner this summer and teaching them how to do that. Sometimes we forget how old our children are and that they are able to start doing a lot more things around the house than we realize. So that list really becomes important. So finding more tasks for them to do so that even going into the school year, it'll be something that they're able to help with. So it's like every summer is kind of okay, let's add on a new chore that you're able to do that's going to help alleviate our stress throughout the school year. And then again, choice. As much choice as you can give them into not only what chores they're doing, but how they're doing those chores, when they're doing those chores will help so much with cooperation. So talking to them, how are we going to handle cleaning up? Do you want to clean up at the end of every day? Do you want to clean up at the end of each activity? If you have something that you've set up, let's say it's a project, a Lego project that you're working on that's going to take a couple days, what are we going to do about the mess? Maybe we leave the project sitting out, but we make sure all the dangerous pieces on the floor are cleaned up. So really talk to them about how to manage cleaning up. And then maybe once a week we have a big house cleaning where we're, scrubbing toilets and cleaning showers and doing all those things. What day works well? What time of the day? When do we want it done? And then even if they suggest things that you don't think are really great or work, try it their way for a little bit. Let them see that, cleaning up just at the end of the week doesn't work because my Legos end up making a mess. I really, too much of a mess. I need to clean them up really every day because people are stepping on the Legos. Let them see what works and what doesn't work. But the more choice you can give them regarding chores, the easier it is. You can even have them help you make a list, a chore list. They can write it down. They can write the checklist, come up with cute ways to mark off when they've done their chores. Again, getting them involved in it, but having a realistic conversation with them that it is the responsibility of people that live in a home. You do have to maintain it, and it is for everyone's safety and for everyone's health. We don't want people stepping and tripping and hurting themselves, and we don't want it to get so dirty that we have mold and mildew and bacteria growing, right? So we've got to maintain that. How can you help us do that? So that's a great thing to add more of. Plus, it makes it a lot easier for you because you're getting a little bit more help. Another thing, this is the most fun thing that is really, really great to have more of is more family time, but making that family time positive and fun. So how can you foster more of a bond with your children over the summer? You're going to get more time with them. What can you do to make that bond even closer? So some suggestions I have for that is, one, to let them direct the activities. Again, throughout the school year, they are directed by so many other adults as to what to do and when to do and how to do it, that giving them some power over the summer really helps alleviate some of those power struggles. So let them direct some activities, give them some choice and power over activities to do during the day or even for a vacation. Let them have voice over where they want to go this summer. Spend some time doing what they love. If they're obsessed with Legos, play Legos with them. If they're obsessed with Barbies, play Barbies with them. If they love playing Fortnite or Minecraft or any of these other video games, play the video games with them. So maybe spend some time in the evening. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. Again, it can be once a week for half an hour, and you're just spending some time doing the things they love. They love to color in the coloring book. Oh my God, I used to love when my mom would color with me. We'd get the crayons out and we'd sit with my little Barbie coloring book and we'd color together. And it wasn't very long. She'd maybe do 15 or 30 minutes, but it was so meaningful to me to have my mom doing what I love too. So spending some time doing what they love is good. Focus on their strengths. Again, let them choose the learning and the things that they want to learn, and give them some maybe extra classes in that, buy them some extra materials in that area. Let them focus on the things that they are really good at so they can even get better at those things. And then another fun thing is to create some new summer traditions with them. What are maybe some dinner time traditions we can do that are a little different? Chore cleaning, traditions that we do a little different. We put on music when we do chores over the summer. What are just some different routines and traditions and things that you can add in there? What's a vacation? Every summer, we go to this beach for a day, whatever it is, try to find some new family traditions, because that's another way to really bond. And then to keep in mind, to try to spend as much time with them that is positive. When you are coloring with them, you're not critiquing their coloring. You're not, directing them in any coloring. You're just having fun and playing. That is such a huge, significant need that children have, is to play and have fun. So to have their parent join in that goodness is so great. And especially because, again, during the school year, we spend so much time harping on them about homework and, being negative, finding all the things they're doing wrong in their homework or things like that, that it's really, you want to balance that as much as you can by just having time where you're not even talking about anything negative. You're not asking them about their chores. You're not harping them on how they didn't do some chore correctly. You're just having fun playing together. So that is a great one to do more of. It brings everybody together. And when you've got everybody together, it helps them want to do all those other gross things a little bit easier. And then the last thing to have more of is what I call cooperative conversations. I've mentioned this a few times throughout, but you want more cooperation from your kids. And the best way to do that is to have a respectful conversation with them about how to handle summer. So all of these strategies should come from conversations that you have with your children. Again, get their input on sleep, technology, learning, chores, and all the activities they want to do this summer. So the more you're talking to them, okay, well, what's going to work and what's not going to work, and look at the summer as a trial by error problem solving scenario where you're working together with your children to figure out what sleep works and what technology works. And you don't really know either. So try it with them and just say, you know what, I feel like, yeah, let's start with trying this schedule this week, and then let's see how it goes. And then next week we'll touch base again. So trying to have cooperative conversations. Those conversations can be, when the topic comes up, your child's complaining that they don't have enough technology. Okay, let's talk about it. And then you have one impromptu right there. But I also strongly suggest over summer picking one day out of the week to sit down and have a structured cooperative conversation where everybody is talking about what's going well with the week, what went well with the summer routines and what's not going so well. What do kids want more of? What do parents want more of, less of, things like that. So really trying to have a time where you're touching base, and that could even be tied into your positive family time. You're going to get together, you're going to talk about things, and you're going to watch a movie together, whatever it is. So really look at summer as a great time to practice problem solving. You've got more time at home alone with them. You may as well spend that figuring out things. And then what's great is you'll go into the school year having established this great problem solving situation that will also work during the school year. It might be busier, so it's harder to have regular meetings, but it'll set up that habit, and that way we relate to each other that comes more from, okay, you want to do homework at the end of the night instead of right after school. Let's try it for a week and see how it goes. So I really strongly suggest having these cooperative conversations, not only in an impromptu way, but also scheduling those every week so that you have a chance to work through all the problems, the good and the bad. And it alleviates stuff for you too, because then you get a forum for saying, hey, the cleaning up isn't happening the way you guys said it would. So let's come up with some other ways to do that. A great question to ask to start off the summer when you first jump in is to set up one of these meetings is, how can we make this summer work for all of us? We all want to have a good summer. We need some things, you need some things. How can we come together to make this work for all of us? So the more you can do that, the more cooperation you'll get, the more enjoyment you get out of the summer, the more chores you'll get done, the more learning you'll see. It just makes summer so much easier when we can come together and have these conversations and figure out summer together. Just makes it a lot more fun. All right, let's get into some homework questions to help you think about summer routine tips with your own family. All right, number 1, think back to being your child's age. What do you think you would have wanted your parents to allow? And what would you want your parents to expect over summer? Thinking back to your own childhood, it might help you come up with boundaries that make sense, and some limits to let go of, things that make sense and feel healthy for you and your children. Sometimes when we remember back to being children ourselves, it helps us to realize how our children also would like to be treated over summer. And looking back, you can also see, yeah, you know what? It probably made sense for my parents to expect me to be more involved with chores. How would I have wanted them to approach that with me? Maybe if they would have asked me, I would have worked with them. And then that's exactly what you can do. All right, number 2, ask your children, what are their goals for this summer? How do they want to feel at the end of these next 2 to 3 months? Some of our children really struggle with long-term planning, and this summer is a great way to get them to practice that because it's usually stuff that they're going to enjoy, right? So have them imagine going back into the school year and looking back on the summer. How will they have wanted to feel? What will they have wanted to accomplish? Maybe even make this a list and help keep them on track over the summer. Hey, you said you wanted to learn how to choreograph a dance over the summer all on your own, but I haven't seen you do much dancing. Don't forget about that. So it can just kind of keep everybody focused on something so that when summer is over, they can see, yeah, they're not, regretting going back into school as much because they were able to do the things that they wanted to do over summer. All right, number 3. What do you need help with this summer? And how can you get their involvement through a cooperative conversation? Your needs are just as important as your children's. And as long as you're coming at it, coming at those needs from a place of, hey, I need your help. This is really something that could help me over the summer. I want to enjoy my summer too. But if I have too much cleaning up to do, or I'm stressed about the mess all the time, I'm not enjoying my summer either. So talk to them, have a conversation with them. How can you all help me out? We've got to work together. And the more you can do that again in those cooperative conversations, the more it makes it easier for everybody. But just don't forget that your needs are just as important. You should have a fun summer too. So what do you need your kids to be doing so that you are also having fun over the summer? And that is a wrap for season 1. So I hope you learned some tips today to get you through the summer and make it enjoyable for all of you, because to me, life is short. Let's have fun. Let's make it the best we can. And if that just means we have to have a few conversations with our kids and work together with them over the summer, and that's what it takes to enjoy it, then let's do it. This is it, right? We only have a few short years with our kids. Let's enjoy them the best that we can. And really, thank you so much for listening to these past 18 episodes. I've really enjoyed doing this podcast. It was a dream of mine for a really long time. So thank you so much for being a listener. Please spread the news as much as possible. I am planning to complete a draft of my book finally by the end of this summer, and that's going to be coming out soon. I'm going to have a lot of these tips broken down into very simple graphics for parents to understand. So please keep listening. Please keep spreading the word as much as you can. I want to get these tips out to as many parents as possible, because I just really think it's important that not only our children are getting what they need to be successful and to thrive at home and also into the future, but most importantly, so everybody's enjoying each other. Like I said, this life is short. Let's make that relationship with our children the best one on the planet, the most fun, the most fulfilling. And hopefully, following these strategies has helped you at some point throughout this school year. So please keep in touch. Remember, if you want more free content, I am on Apple as a podcast. I'm on YouTube. If you're not watching me here already, I am on YouTube. I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, TikTok. I also have a newsletter that goes out once or twice a month. And I do coaching. So please email me, reach out to me in some way, book a free consultation. Let's talk. There may be ways that I can help your family that maybe you haven't even thought of yet. So I really enjoy working with parents and families and students. So please reach out. All those links are below. And have a great, great summer. And I will be back again in the fall. Bye for now.